Welcome to the AFN Sports Arena with Jancy and Tori. I'm Jancy Ellis, joined here in the AFN Okinawa studio by Air Force Staff Sergeant Tori Cusimano.
Hello!
Oh my goodness. Just one fan today.
Mrs. Doubtfire,
Interesting.
that's all you need.
Yeah.
What's up? How you feeling today?
I'm feeling great. I'm feeling good. I'm glad high school football season's underway. I'm glad the NFL season's about to be underway, and we're coming to the home stretch here with baseball season as well. So lots of stuff going on in the sports world.
What a time to be alive. Well, once again, we are excited to be joined by the one and only Dave Ornauer. Where in the world is Dave this morning?
I am on Soul Patrol.
How are you liking it out there, Dave?
Yeah, it's a little cooler than I imagined it would be. It's kind of like Okinawa in January.
I love it.
Well, no, not really. It's in the 60s right now, which is kind of unusual.
Well, it's still nice and warm here, so when you come on back,
Yeah.
you'll still have your heat.
Wrap you up like a warm blanket.
Football season gets underway in Korea starting tomorrow. Seoul American down in Daegu. So they're getting a chance to see them play.
Exciting. Well, we're happy to be graced with your insight once again. Let's talk about the Kubasaki Dragons. For those of you that don't know, Kubasaki High School is located on Camp Foster Marine Base and has a rich history here on island. They are competitive year after year. However, last season broke their streak of 5 straight Far East Division I title game berths. What is Coach Fred Bales working with this season?
He's working with a youngish team that is still in the building phase, and they took their lumps last week at Yokosuka Naval Base against Kinnick High School, which has had kind of a checkered history against teams from Okinawa when they play on Okinawa. But this last week, a 34-0 victory, a romp by the Red Devils over Kubasaki, indicates that maybe things might be a bit different this year on the upside for the Red Devils. The Dragons certainly continue to be in building phase. And they did show some good promise. They have a young junior quarterback, Skylar Klimek, who really was a bright spot for the Dragons in last week's game. They were not able, they did knock on the door a couple of times. 34-0 sounds like it was, just a drubbing, but no. Kubasaki did have its chances, particularly in the second half. Klimek went 8 for 25 for 93 yards, and his favorite target, Juan Guerrero, 5 catches for 71 yards. And when he did get open, he showed some good speed.
That's not bad at all. That's more passing offense than we saw at Kadena last week, that's for sure.
Well, when things are going so well in the running game, why throw?
Exactly.
Yeah, you're right.
Why fix what isn't broken? And now this is Coach Fred Bales' 13th season. He has an overall record of 44-33, 2 D1 titles in 2005 and 13. Tell us a little bit about Coach Bales.
This is a guy who lives, breathes, eats, and sleeps football. And on the side, he's a solid musician. He does play that bass guitar, and But football-wise, this is a guy who's been in the business for more than 40 years. Grew up playing the game. Has sent some of his players from back in his days in Panama to the NFL.
Wow.
And he came to Okinawa in 2000. Is definitely an offensive mind. He does like to call the offensive signals. Favors a spread attack. Favors the passing game. Does try to run the ball when he can. If there's anybody who can put the program back on a winning keel, it's him.
Awesome. Kubasaki has 11 returning seniors, 6 starters, and that may sound like quite a bit for out here, but only 39 players on the roster this year compared to as many as 65 in recent years. David, explain to us how that can really hurt the team, having so few players come out.
A lack of depth. You're an injury or 3 away from being a decided ordinary team. When you don't have people who can back and fill positions, that especially key ones. When you're talking 11 men trying to move the ball down the field, all positions are key. I don't mean to favor one position over another, but if you cannot plug in somebody who can is capable and can do the job, then you're in trouble.
Where do you think that lack of depth hurts him the most, Dave? Because we talked about the quarterback's stats from last week, 93 yards through the air, but as a team, they were outgained 383 to 51, so they must have had some struggles in the running game.
Certainly in the interior. They were negative 42 yards on 16 rushing attempts.
Ouch.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that can be a bit of an issue. So that clearly demonstrated to me that Kinnick has the depth and experience in the interior,
mm-hmm.
And Kubasaki, clearly did not. It's going to take a game or three for them to hit some kind of stride. The big test, of course, will be Friday,
mm-hmm.
When Kubasaki visits Kadena. Kadena being the Pacific record holder with 5 Division I championships, and of course they're coming off those 4 state appearances in the D1 championship game.
Mm-hmm. Now, Kubasaki's record was 2-5 last year. Like we said, they had kind of a down season, but they led Dodea Pacific in scoring defense. Now, do you think their defense is going to repeat that this year? Do they have a pretty solid presence back there?
Not if last week's performance is any indication. That's the thing that concerns me.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, with Kadena doing what it did last week, of course, that was against a Division II team. When they come up against one of their brethren, well, we'll see what happens. And it is Kadena Kubasaki. When it comes to those two teams, you can pretty much throw what occurred before out the window.
Mm-hmm. That's what I was going to say, Dave, is familiarity breeds contempt. That's how the saying goes, right? So when these two teams get together, it's a rivalry game. So I think when you look at last week's scores, you would anticipate a huge Kadena blowout, but you're thinking that this game will be a little bit closer than people might think.
Without question. They do see red when they see each other.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Well, we will see if Coach Bales can right the ship. The Dragons face off against their arch rival, Kadena, like we've said, this Friday at Ryukyu Middle School at 6 p.m. So make sure to head over there and check it out. Start your Labor Day weekend off right. And Tori here will be taking over the announcing duties once again.
Whoop, whoop.
Thanks for calling in, Dave.
Glad to.
Keep on rolling, and we'll see you back soon. Well, I can't wait for the Kadena-Kubasaki game. Those are always fun. I was able to go to 2 last year, and he's right. Everything gets thrown out the window. It's a pretty true rivalry. And it's 2 teams that are perennial contenders for a title. And speaking of matchups between title contenders, we've got a huge one this weekend.
Ooh.
Number 1, Alabama, and number 3, Florida State will be facing off in the college football 2017 Chick-fil-A kickoff game.
Get hype.
Which you can catch Sunday morning at 9 a.m. on AFN Sports.
My goodness, I'm looking more forward to this than I was McGregor-Mayweather.
I know.
This is a bit better heavyweight matchup. I know those guys aren't heavyweights.
Oh,
Jason,
yeah. Figure of speech.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously one of these top 5 ranked teams will be a 1-loss team after this game. But what do you think? Does Florida State have what it takes to knock off Alabama?
I don't know, man. I mean, Jimbo Fisher obviously is a great coach in his own right, but for whatever reason, Nick Saban has become a force all his own.
Yeah.
And regardless of what kind of players he's putting on the field, we talked last week about how he lets his teams discover their identity, but then once they have, it's like that sheer Nick Saban willpower that gets them over the top. I don't know what he does, what kind of magic dust he sprinkles on his players.
He is the Jedi Master.
He is.
All time, he's 10-0 against former assistants. And as we know, Jimbo Fisher was his offensive coordinator at LSU. And the Tide have won 9 straight neutral site games in Atlanta.
I think he's more of a Sith Lord because he's not necessarily known for being a pal to these players.
Okay, well, you're the
he's not
Star
a
Wars
buddy.
expert. I'll defer to you. Well, FSU actually has a secret weapon in Derwin James. Have you heard about this guy?
He's playing a little defense for those cats,
Oh,
huh?
yeah. So he's a 6'3", 211-pound safety, but they say he can line up pretty much anywhere on the field. And the danger in that is that Alabama can't truly account for him ahead of time. He was quoted as saying, I could be in the back, I could be on the line, I could be in the middle, I could be anywhere. And that's dangerous.
As a defensive coordinator, that's exactly what you want out of your players because you can do so much. You can vary up your blitz packages. You can blitz the safety and drop a D lineman back into coverage, which confuses young quarterbacks into throwing those quick slant interceptions and things of that nature. And as an offensive coordinator, that's the kind of thing that keeps you up at night because every play is designed to account for every defensive player. And when you can't account for one, it just screws up your whole game plan.
Exactly. Matchups are becoming more important in today's game because offenses are evolving. So Jimbo Fisher really likes to recruit these versatile players, and these big body guys that can adjust positions to accommodate these opposing offensive players is huge. At FSU, they call it the star position. It can be called different things. In my high school, it was called the hawk.
Right, or
so
the joker
it's
or
just
whatever.
It's just a hybrid position. And the first one that did this was LaMarcus Joyner back in 2013, and then Jalen Ramsey. And so they've been doing this for a while, but they think this guy is just on another level. And what also gives the Seminoles an even bigger advantage is that James has only played in 15 career games with 10 total starts. And the last time anybody saw him take a snap was nearly 12 months ago.
Can't game plan for a player if he doesn't have the game tape.
Exactly. So it's dangerous. I mean, regardless, it's going to be a very competitive game. But me personally, I do think the Tide will roll on and they will be 1-0.
Boo.
I mean,
you suck.
They don't suck. They don't suck one bit. But we shall see. And if Derwin James can live up to the hype and stay healthy this season, it's pretty much guaranteed he'll have a contract that ends in a lot of zeros waiting for him in the NFL.
I would think so, yeah.
And one player in the NFL that just got paid big time this week. In fact, it's the biggest contract of any player in NFL history. Matthew Stafford of the Detroit Lions.
Yeah, he got paid. He got paid a couple dollars.
Just a few. The tune of, $27 million per season.
Ooh.
He just inked a 5-year deal that overtakes Derek Carr's $25 million as the previous mark for the highest paid athlete in the league. But what is most impressive about the deal is the guaranteed amount of $92 million and a $50 million signing bonus.
My goodness, that is a lot of stuff. Now, it's easy, Jancy, to fall prey to the headline because you see it every couple years. Such and such signs
Highest
richest
paid player.
contract in NFL history. And you're thinking, Matt Stafford.
Exactly.
This guy has not won a playoff game. The only thing he's going to win is probably like a Haley Joel Osment lookalike contest, probably.
Gosh.
But when you look at the stats, well, first of all, you have to take a look at the history of the rich contracts because he's not the first quarterback to be signed to the richest contract in NFL history. In fact, the past 4 years, you mentioned Derek Carr.
It's definitely the trend.
The year before that, it was Andrew Luck. The year before that, it was Aaron Rodgers. So it's a little sensationalism on the part of the sports journalists in their headlines.
It is. And it's the growing trend. It's inflation, if you will. The amount of money circulating through the NFL and the importance of a franchise quarterback, and especially since collegiate quarterbacks are not developing in the way that the NFL needs them to be.
No.
Every couple years, we'll see an NFL-ready talent coming out of NCAA. And so these franchise quarterbacks that are solid, not sensational necessarily, but solid, you have to keep them there. You can't afford it. But like we said, you've seen Matthew Stafford. He has a 51-58 record over the last 8 years with the Lions. That's a losing record.
Right.
Now holding the biggest contract in the NFL.
Football's a team sport, Jancy. You know what I mean? When you look at the stats, if you look at total QBR, which is that fancy new stat that ESPN's been using, over the past couple years, he's, I think, the 8th-ranked quarterback in the league. And you might be saying 8th-ranked quarterback does not warrant a contract of that size. But when you look at some of the quarterbacks he's ahead who have signed big contracts as well, I mean, he deserved it.
Yeah.
You get a defense around him. You get some guys who can play because football, like we said, is the ultimate team sport. Then I think he would have more success.
And he does. He has that solid arm. He can run an offense, and he's pretty durable. His first 2 seasons he was kind of injury-laden.
Right.
But since then, he's really proven himself as reliable. And like you said, he has a pretty high passer rating, 86.8, which is actually number 23 in NFL history. He's already broken the top 50 quarterback statistically in the NFL. He ranks number 39 in completions, 47 in attempts, and 44 in yards, 49 in touchdowns. So it is respectable. He's doing his job. And as much money as NFL players are raking in, the athletes found in MLB clubhouses are taking home even more. Those contracts, man. And fun fact, Matthew Stafford actually went to high school in Dallas with Clayton Kershaw, who was the highest paid player in the MLB at a cool $33 million per year.
Very interesting. Look at you with the loose tie-ins right there.
You know, I do my research. And speaking of the LA Dodgers, what do you think? Does anyone have a chance of getting in their way?
There's nobody. There's nobody, Jancy. The only thing that is going to stop the Dodgers this year are the Dodgers. If they have some kind of implosion in the clubhouse or if a bunch of guys start getting injured or something like that, This is one of the most complete, well-rounded teams I've ever seen, and I think that the MLB has ever seen. With the addition of Yu Darvish now, they have ridiculous depth in their starting pitching. Their relief pitching has come up, and they signed a couple guys there at the trade deadline as well that helped bolster that. And then they keep finding guys that get hot at the right times that put the team on their back. Puig's been hot this year, obviously. Bellinger, Turner, all these guys have been getting the hits when they count most.
We've been saying since we started this podcast, the Dodgers, all the hype, they say they're the best team we've seen ever in recent years, and kept saying, oh, that's maybe a little too early to put the crown on them already, but it's
getting to be about crunch time now,
It's looking there. But one thing I'm intrigued by right now in the league is the Red Sox and Yankees series about to kick off. You want to talk about all-time great rivalries ever.
Oh, yeah.
The best. And this season it's lined up perfectly. They're 1-2 in the AL East, and the Red Sox are only a few games up on the Bronx Bombers. I think if the Yankees rookie Aaron Judge can return to form and start sending bombs out of the park like he did the first half of the season, New York has a real shot to take that division crown and dance right into October.
Man, this is good for baseball.
It is.
As much as I hate both the Red Sox and the Yankees, for the past couple years, one or both of them has been sort of in rebuilding mode. So when they've played late in the year, it hasn't been these meaningful games. And some of the most memorable moments in MLB history have come between the Yankees and Red Sox in meaningful games late in the season and in the playoffs. So it's good to get everyone excited again, and as much as I hate to say it, I'm happy to see these two teams on top. Now, Aaron Judge definitely does play a big part in that Yankees offense. I think when they had that big scrum a couple of days ago with the Tigers and their Gary Sanchez got mixed up and he got suspended and they had a bunch. It feels like it kind of lit a fire in the Yankees. So we'll see how much that carries them through the end of the year, but
there's nothing to unify a dugout like a good fight.
I'm telling you, I don't know what the deal is at the MLB. They do love their fighting.
Yeah, so we'll see. Like I said, I'm real excited for the Red Sox-Yankees series coming up. And make sure you tune in to follow it. The first game will air at 8 a.m. on Saturday on Prime Pacific. Not AFN Sports, Prime Pacific.
Okay.
I will definitely be waking up and turning that on. And as always, head over to myafn.net to see your complete TV schedule. Like I said, this is my favorite time of the year. Football's here, baseball's heating up. I love it.
Basketball and hockey right around the corner, October.
Here we go. But that's going to have to do it for us today. We hope you'll join us again next week in the AFN Sports Arena. I'm Jancy Ellis, and he's
Air Force Staff Sergeant Tori Cusimano.
Boo! You suck!
What the heck with that guy, man?
Pull him out of the back. Get him out of here. Well, have a great weekend. And don't forget, you have to look good to play good.